I worked hard. Anybody works with dairy knows it is. But about, let's see, it was about, let's see how it was. We had a great big house, and we lived in the big house, and Grandma and Grandpa lived in the little house behind us. And by golly, that darn big house caught on fire one day at noon. And it was filled up with sawdust, and us kids all slept up there. They said if that had broke out at night, we'd all burned up. Wayne was in the back, and Mary and I was in the front. And then the next year, then my sister died in 1937. In 1936, our house burnt. In 1937, she died. She's 14 years old. And she had a bowel obstruction. And she didn't tell Mom and Dad. Her bowels just hadn't moved, you know. So she got scared, and she took Dad always had this darned old tea that we had to take every Saturday. We had to take this tea. It was a physic, it was what it was. So she decided to take some of that. Well, one didn't work, so she took some more, and that just really threw her bad. And then they operated on her, and she was full of peritonitis, you know. So and she was 14 years old when we lost her. Yeah, that was really hard on Mom and Dad. There was 21 months difference between me and Mary, and then Wayne was 5 years younger than me, and then William was I was 13 years older than William. William was always our baby. But you know, William and Wayne never got along when they got older. I don't know, little jealousy all the way around. But anyway, I never thought we'd lose William as soon as we lost him. And we sure didn't plan on losing Wayne and Betty. That was really horrible. Art and I had been to Missouri to see Lana. And David and Jackie had Ben. So we come home, and we got in the car, and we went over to Walla Walla to see our new baby. And David says, Mom, why don't you stay all night? You and Dad stay all night. We haven't seen you for a while. I think we better go home. So we stopped out to the ranch and saw Dad and Mom for a while. And then I come home, and the darn phone was ringing. It was your mom. And she said, oh my gosh. And Aunt Ella, she said, Mom and Dad was killed in Canada. I tell you, I almost hit the floor, and I just screamed, no, no, no. And Art come running, and I told him, and Wayne and Terry and William was in Nampa, Idaho. And so that's pretty late when we got, I think it was around 9 o'clock at night. And I said, oh my gosh, I called the doctor first, told him that my brother's killed. And he says, well, don't go out there and tell Emil till morning, whatever you do, because Daddy was bad. He was pretty bad. And so anyway, then we got a hold of the railroad, and the railroad went and told Terry and William, and got them home, brought them home right away. And so we told the radio station not to tell anybody anything until morning, see. So then Art and I went out to the ranch, and that was horrible. Have to go out and tell Mom and Dad. Oh my God, Daddy just. I could still hear my dad. Oh no, no, no! My son. It's his son. Wayne was his son 100 times. You know that. And boy, that was really hard on him. Really hard on all of us. And then, of course, Carol, she says, Aunt Ella, I don't know what to do. I can't get a hold of Linda. That Linda was in Boise. And she says that the mounted police gave me a number and they want us to call. And she says, I don't want to call. She says, I want you to call. So I called the mounted police. And they said, I said, well, what do you want? He says, we got to have somebody here to claim the bodies. And he says, we are doing an autopsy on Wayne to be sure he's not to have drugs or drinking or anything. And he was, they took him to Calgary, and Wood River is where the wreck was. So they left Betty at the Wood River, took Wayne down there, done the autopsy, then they moved them both to, and then Jerry went down to claim the bodies. It took him a whole week to claim those bodies, to get them out of there. But thank God that Terry had some Mormon friends. They really jumped in there and helped. And then Jerry took the pickup and got all the tools that he could get out of there and everything. But that damn pickup was telescope. And they had to cut Wayne and Betty out of there. Yeah, that was a terrible, terrible thing. So then we had to sit here and wait for a funeral. That's awful. And my poor dad and my poor mom. Mom cried till she got an infection in her eyes. She just couldn't keep the tears back. And so that was tell you, that was a terrible thing. And then, you know, Betty's mom Betty had her mom over there taking care of her. And so the boys, I guess Dean, took her back over to Baker. That was horrible for poor old Betty's mom. Cora, that was her daughter, and man, it was just a horrible thing. And it wasn't long till Cora, she died too. She just couldn't take it. And of course, Lene was, about that time, she was going with Jeff, you know. They got married and had our little Chantel. Didn't last too long, though. So, anyway, Wayne and Betty they were good hard workers. All of us kids was hard workers. Yeah. That's, Wayne, and you know, Mom and Dad both. Mom says you're not supposed to lose your kids before you die. You're supposed to die first. That's what her and Daddy always felt. They shouldn't have had to lose two of their kids all at once. It was terrible. Yeah. And you know, Art and Wayne. Art had lost his arm in 1967. And Wayne and Art was just like this. They were just every single morning at 7:30, that phone would ring, and it was Art calling, Wayne calling Art. What are we going to do today? Wayne would say, or something. Anyway, they'd either clean ditches or they were doing something all the time. And Betty, bless her heart, she always knew that Art had this diabetes, and she always loved having Art there because she knew that Wayne would be home right at noon. Otherwise, he'd be out there visiting and talking. And she says, I just loved it when Art was here because I knew that they were coming home at noon. And so anyway, it was, I know it just killed Art. He just, it just took him, and he was gone in 2 years. He couldn't hardly stand it, you know. Him and Wayne are so close together. Closer than Art with his own brother. His own brother was here, but Wayne and Art were so close. Wayne always saw we had milk and we had meat and stuff, you know. He was always good about that. Well, I guess Alan, he's happy now. Him and Mary doing real good. He calls me ever so often to see how I am. He worries about me a lot. It's on the road and starts in to call and